my nose was pressed into the back of his neck, and this overriding smell of hairspray was just, I thought I was going to die.
Really?
We speak to our guest, who is a former BBC journalist. He knows loads about politics and that, and he's going to be doing probably the best interview he's ever done in his entire career now with us, as we say good morning to Mr. Jon Sopel.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning, John. Nice to see you.
Nice to be here. I sat in the green room. I thought this is going to be nice and easy, and then I heard Chris doing a trail of what he might ask me about Emily Maitlis, and I thought, oh no.
Oh, dear.
Well, you know, you don't have...
Taxi for Sopel, but...
You don't have to answer every question as well, you know. How much do you get paid for the news? Who's your favourite?
Not as much as Chris Moyles. I'm my favourite.
Oh, I don't know. The success, the juggernaut that is the newsagents, it really is a phenomenal success.
Look, it seemed to have gone all right for the moment. I mean, you know, you kind of always think you could fall off and, oh, look, you've been in this business so long that, you know, everyone's going, oh, you're so successful. It's so wonderful what you're doing. It's so marvellous. And then the numbers go down and then the kind of people forget they've ever met you. And so we've kind of all been there. So, look, at the moment, it seems to be going all right. You know, we launched the podcast when Liz Truss became the Prime Minister.
Right.
God bless her. I mean, because she is the patron saint of our podcast.
Right,
For 49 days, she just gave us so much material, more material than we could have ever wished for.
It is funny to go. Our podcast lasted longer than a Prime Minister.
Yes.
How long have you been in the podcast? 7 weeks.
That's right.
I know. It was mad. It was mad. It was totally mad.
Can I ask you this? We've only just met.
Feeling nervous.
What's your honest opinion now, John, about that thing that you do on the Newsagents podcast where you intro yourselves and you go, it's John, it's Lewis, it's Emily. I think it's cringy. I don't think you like it.
Oh, I think it's quite funny because it normally kicks off something else because I'm on holiday or Lewis is doing something ridiculous or Emily's in New York as she has been sort of promoting the new drama about, you know, her interview with Prince Andrew. So
Another one.
Yeah. I know.
Let it go, love.
But this is the one that she's the exec producer of, so she's got more of an interest in this one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It started and it's kind of, I think it's sort of part of what people...
James loves it. Don't you?
I do. Especially the American.
I cringe.
No, I do.
The American one as well. If you haven't heard the American one, they do it all in American accents.
Yeah, and amazing accents at that.
John goes,
exactly.
it's John. Like that.
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
It's nice to know who's there at the top. It's nice.
It's funny, though, because if you listen to one podcast that's got all three of them, it's John, it's Emily. What's the order? Is there an order?
The batting order is normally, I don't know why. It is normally that it's John, it's Emily, it's Lewis.
Right, okay. Right. And then sometimes Lewis just does it on his own.
Yeah.
Because he's not as busy as the other two. He's young and, you know. And he goes, it's Lewis. Welcome to the Newsagents.
The others
It's still plural, but there's only one of us because everyone else is more successful than me. It's pretty much it, isn't it?
That's very much it.
That's it.
So we've got your book. So we're going to talk about your book. This is John's book, which is out next week. And then I've got questions. Ooh. Right now, again, you don't have to answer them, but some of them are great questions. Okay. I think you'll like a couple of them. So this is not your first book by any means, but it's called Strangeland. What's the book about?
It's about... So for 8 years, I was BBC's North America editor, living in Washington all through the Trump years. January the 6th, 2021, when there is an attempted insurgency at the Capitol. And then I came back at the end of 2021, and it felt like Britain had gone mad. I mean, it was the period of Liz Truss. It was the end of Boris Johnson. We had 3 prime ministers in 1 year. And it seemed like there was kind of, oh my God, is the craziness that was in America now coming over to Britain? And there were just some kind of serious things I thought were happening out there that Britain felt slightly strange to me. And having been here, I grew up in London, London boy, born and bred. And I just thought, wow, what's going on in our politics? What's going on in society? All the conspiracy theories, the poison on social media. And I just thought, you know, I kind of quite like living in Britain in a free and fair democracy. Could the same thing happen in Britain as happened in America on January the 6th. And it was that was kind of spurred me on to writing the book.
Do you think politics here has changed? How much do you think the Trump situation has affected politics here?
It was like in 2016, it felt that something happened. I don't know whether something had been put in the water in the US and Britain, but, you know, in the past, in politics, in kind of life, we've kind of gone up to the edge of things and peered over the edge and thought, bloody hell, that looks scary, and taken 3 steps back.
Yeah.
In 2016, we leapt into Brexit, and, you know, this isn't a pro or anti-Brexit comment, although I'm still waiting to see what the sunny uplands of Brexit are. I can say that now that I'm no longer part of the BBC. And America jumped to this guy, Donald Trump, to be the President of the United States of America, never having held elected office, never having served in the armed forces of the US military. And America did something kind of crazy as well. And so, you know, it was as though suddenly, what's going on here?
It feels to me like, and you're certainly more of an expert than I am, but my opinion is, it seems to me like we love an underdog in this great land of ours. We like rooting for the underdog. We like a man of the people. We like someone who tells it like it is, right? Sometimes when you've got loads of politicians who are a bit snooty and using long words with more than 2 syllables, and then somebody else comes along and wipes their nose or whatever, we go, I like that guy, which I think was a lot of the appeal of Boris Johnson and everything. And then Donald Trump came along and he has that, but he also is a very, 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 very wealthy man. And has also been, his life has been and career has been riddled with, you know, not great things. But it was like all that disappeared and America saw him as like one of us, man of the people. But he's not. And we have this here now where people are like, well, he's just like us, isn't he? And you're like, no, he's absolutely not like you. This particular person you're talking about is extremely wealthy and does not live in the same world that you live in. How have we got here? How have we got to this point?
So there are 1 or 2 people who have shown themselves, and Trump and Boris Johnson, who you single out, are particular examples of it, who are able, through force of personality, if you're going to spin it positively, they have got charisma, they have got charm, that you can't resist anything they're saying, and so they're hucksters. They can sell things. They're snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
So Boris, man of the people, who went to Eton and Balliol College, Oxford, and then became a member of the Bullingdon Club. Yeah, he's just like you and me, Chris. I mean, that's exactly our background. I remember meeting Don Trump Jr. in this huge out-of-town church in Iowa at the beginning of 2016, freezing cold in Iowa in the Midwest. And it's the start of the election process where Donald Trump is going for the Republican nomination, which he would then get and become president. And I said to, Don Jr., but how is it that your father is doing this? He said, well, you've got to, how is he appealing to so many working class voters? And he said, well, my dad is essentially a blue-collar worker. Pause. But with a slightly better bank balance. And, and these are guys that have got, he's got his private jets, which is covered in gold taps and gold everything that you can imagine. He's got his name on every bloody building that he's ever kind of gone anywhere near. And these people sold a vision. And also, I think the other thing that happened in politics in this period, it's all going to be simple. The world, you may think the world's a complicated place. I've got a simple answer to everything. And then we get disappointed and disillusioned. Yeah. And we find, oh no, it's not like that, is it?
Yeah. It's a scary time. It's a fascinating time, and it's great for podcasts that might be looking at politics on a daily basis.
It's ridiculously good.
But it's like the Brexit thing. So again, without getting into it, my view on Brexit from day one was very simple, which was, everybody's talking about leaving the EU and what would be better if we stayed or if we went, and we should. And I thought to myself, I don't really know enough about it. So I don't really know enough about it. I don't know. I wasn't around before. We've always been in the EU. I don't really know. Fast forward to maybe 6 months, a year later, people are having absolute diehard opinions on what, and I'm like, we don't know. We didn't know. And everything we do know, we've been told, and you either go left or right in your opinion. It's like being at the crossroads. We don't know. If somebody said tomorrow, if the Prime Minister tomorrow or today said, what do we all think about the government's overseas aid policy? Most people would go, I don't really know what it is.
No, I think that...
And we should have stayed there. We don't know. That's why they're doing it. And let's be honest, they probably don't know either.
But we also got sick of experts. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like you go to the doctor and you've got to go and see a specialist. And at the end of the consultation, you say, yeah, but what do you know? I actually do know a tiny bit because I was trained as a medic and then I became a senior house officer and then I became a registrar and then I became a consultant. Yeah. So maybe I do know a tiny bit about it and therefore... But we were in that mood. Oh, sod you don't know what you're talking about.
It's very clever how they politicians manipulate things and questions and answers and whatnot. And I used to do this thing years ago where I used to say to people, just to prove a point that you can go from having no opinion to having an opinion very quickly with very few words between the two. And you can do it with anything at all. I used to do it with how much it cost the BBC to do Glastonbury, right? But you can do it with how much a business spends on milk. So this company, Global, do you have any idea how much money Global spends on milk just for the staff in the building on a monthly basis?
I have got to say it's a question I've never considered.
Right, so you've never thought about it. You wouldn't even have a ballpark.
No, it's not in the slightest, faintest clue.
If I said to you Global spends £1 million a month on milk, do you think that's a lot?
I would think that's quite a lot.
No, you've immediately gone from no idea, never thought about it, wouldn't even have a ballpark, to absolutely go, that sounds like a lot. That sounds like a lot.
I know, but we do that. And I think that's
we all fall for it.
And I think that happens even more now on social media where you just got to... No one says, well, yeah, Chris, that's an interesting point, but... It's Chris, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's everyone has to go to pick up the pitchforks, go to war immediately with these people. And I kind of think that, you know, hopefully what you're doing here and what we do on our podcast is we're saying, well, you know what? It's a bit more complicated than that. And I think that's really important.
I want to bring back people going, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about everyday people,
refreshing,
but also politicians.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love it if a politician answered the question with, I don't really know enough about it, so I can't really give you an answer. It's not really my thing.
I don't know, but I'll go away and find out, and I'll come back to you. That would be amazing.
One or two have done that.
Oh, really?
And you think, and I just think, oh my God, that is so impressive.
Yeah.
You know, none of us know the answers to everything.
No.
We have no idea. Yeah. We're kind of fumbling our way, you know, trying to find our way out of the sort of underground to find our way into our office, to go to work each day. We don't have certainty. And I just think that there's so much more room for people saying, I mean, the other interesting piece of this is that, you know, and what I've loved about doing the podcast is that the BBC, there was this sort of council of despair, that young people were not interested in what was happening in the world. They weren't interested in news because they weren't listening to the Today programme or the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news. And I thought, this is nonsense. And we've got a huge young audience. And apparently, so the BBC at one stage, when it was thinking, what do we do about engaging young people? About how we can get them interested. Do we employ lots of young people as correspondents who've got tattoos and piercings and send them off to do the stories in wherever? Well, that might not work. Or do we send old farts like me out and say, well, so they went for the old farts like me option. So this guy, so the 6 o'clock news editor says, I know what we've got to do. We've got to do a piece and ask young people about, because it was the growth of vinyl. This was a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So they send this guy down to Oxford Street, reporter with a camera crew, does the vox pops, pulls out of a plastic bag an LP and says, I'm from the 6 o'clock news. Do you know what this is? He goes, yeah, it's an LP. What's the 6 o'clock news?
That's very good.
And I thought, there you have a problem of trying to... Don't patronise people.
Yeah.
Just talk to people like ordinary people.
Everybody get Jon's book if you're enjoying this. It is called Strangeland, Jon Sopel. It's out next week and it has been endorsed. If you want to know how the serious political beans of this dude, Joe Lycett is on the cover.
Absolutely right. It's a lovely quote from him, isn't it?
So there you are. Right, questions then. You ready?
Oh, God.
Here we go.
That was it. I thought that was it. Jon Sopel, thank you very much.
I can't remember which ones I've done.
6 minutes to 9.
How much money do you make from news? Have I done that one?
We've done that one. Yeah, loads.
Okay, all right. Donald Trump, you've met him, you've been close to him. What does he smell like?
I have been so close to Donald Trump that after one of the debates, he came out into the spin room and there was this...
Oh, go on. No, it's just this the video of you where he's having a good chat with you. No, it's okay. Go on.
Yeah, and my nose was pressed into the back of his neck, and this overriding smell of hairspray was just. I thought I was going to die.
Really?
Is it syrup?
No, it's a confection. It's not a syrup.
Right. It's its own.
It has its own ecosystem.
It's very complicated.
It's very complicated
really?
Because you're watching the swirls of the hairspray,
Sure.
of how it has kind of been moulded into a pseudo Elvis Presley quiff.
As a bald man, I'm fascinated by that. I really am.
You were out in America for how many years?
8.
Okay. Did you hang out with Tom Brooke?
All the time.
Okay, good. I just always think of him when I think of people who've been working for the BBC in America.
He seems nice.
Who is your favourite, as in the nicest politician that you like and get on with, whose views are the polar opposite of yours?
Oh, that is such a good question. God, blimey. You see, if you meet Farage in a green room, I mean, I don't think I've got much to say. But, you know, I kind of interviewed him after he'd had that plane crash, when he'd kind of been trailed a banner from this sort of small... And he looked so vulnerable and kind of small and kind of, you know, diminished by the accident. And it was a terrible thing that happened. And you meet him and he's very personable and friendly. And, you know, there are various people you meet and you kind of think, well, we don't agree that much on our outlook on the world. But, you know, you're there to do a professional job. I quite like politicians. I quite like people who've got ideas and believe things and argue that they think society will be better with X or society will be better with Y. And you know, I don't care whether I agree or disagree.
Okay. You started at the BBC and BBC Radio Solent as a reporter.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, how do you edit tape?
Oh, I loved editing tape.
Yeah.
Get a 1/4 inch into the splicing block, mark it with your Chinograph pencil, razor blade goes in, a bit of sticky tape, put it together, reel it through the Studer tape machine. Love it.
You knew.
As predicted.
I knew.
Yeah.
Did you have your own editing kit, or did you have to hide it?
No, I had my own editing kit. Because I always...
Did you leave it in a little reel-to-reel box?
Yeah, exactly. All of that stuff. And my Ewer. I carried a Ewer tape recorder.
Which weighed a ton. Yeah.
And you... Honestly, it was 15-minute reel of tape. Yeah. Then you had a spare one, and you had your Chinograph, and you could edit on the road. It was.
Them were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah. These kids know nothing, John.
Queuing up for a phone box, paying someone to use their phone after a court case. Yeah, I remember that.
John was never like this on the Beeb. It's like a caged animal has been released. He's very good. Says one text. There's another. I could listen to John all day. So refreshing to what he says. What a great guy. Michael near Mansfield. This is a brilliant interview. You should get John on your drunk pubcast. Do you drink, John?
No, never, ever. Touch a drop.
All right, well, let's have a chat with him off the air. But sounds like a contender.
I think so.
And this one says, based on this, I firmly believe you could fill in for James O'Brien on his next holiday. That would certainly boost his listeners, says Gav. Is that to me or John?
Yeah.
We could do it together.
We could do the James O'Brien mashup.
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
nice, wouldn't it?
Okay, I'm going to get to the... okay. Oh, let's go to Air Force One.
Yeah.
What's Air Force One like, and how excited were you when you were told you were going on it?
Wetting myself.
How many times have you been on it?
I've been on it a number of times.
Okay,
so I went on it with Obama. So Obama, I went on it from Saudi Arabia. And we were flying to Stansted in London. So
that's handy.
So in the morning, he has a day of engagements. In the morning, you're told to kind of gather. There are only 12 of you, who are only 12 journalists or 13 journalists any one time ever fly on Air Force One. You're told to gather at the hotel where Obama's staying. You're in that hotel as well. And you lay out all your bags on the floor. And I'm thinking, well, they'll just go through the security. And, you know, 4 days of dirty washing. And they say, right, open the bag. And there's Secret Service dogs that have been brought over from the US in Saudi and Riyadh are sniffing your bag. And then once you're what's called clean, they've been through every bit of your possessions, they've searched you. You then travel in a kind of hermetically sealed unit with the president for the whole day. And then when you get on the plane, there is no security because you've already been swept. And you get on the plane and the journalists sit right at the very, very back of the plane. And the only law is you can only walk backwards on the plane. You're not allowed to, so Obama's at the front, he can go wherever he likes. We can go nowhere. Right. And it's like they've put a bulkhead down the centre. So we've only got, so if you're thinking, think of a sort of jumbo jet, which it is, you know, maybe 12 seats in economy at the very back. Well, you've got 6, and then a bulkhead, and then the other 6 are on the other side. In front of us are the Secret Service, who carry their weapons throughout. So if you were tempted to go a bit further up the plane than you're meant to, the Secret Service are there to deter you.
So you can't go make yourself a cup of tea?
No, but the cup of tea comes on bone china, and it's all lovely, and it's and you nip whatever you can if it's not.
Of course,
if it's not been down to the plane, serviettes, cups,
absolutely,
and the M&Ms with the presidential kind of signature on them.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. So I've got Obama M&Ms, I've got Trump M&Ms, and I've got Biden M&Ms.
Wow.
Yeah. So we land at Stansted Airport, and I don't know whether you come into Stansted Airport often.
I try not to.
Yeah.
Because I live in London.
And I've always debated whether it's best to go kind of down the M11 back into town, or take a train to Liverpool Street back into town. We land, plane comes to a halt, Secret Service said, off now. There are these Osprey helicopters and Marine One, and we go in like kind of Apocalypse Now, over London, into the garden of the US ambassador at Regent's Park. From landing to Regent's Park, 20 minutes.
Wow.
Forget the M11, forget the train into Liverpool Street, US Marine Corps helicopters.
That's how Ashley gets to work.
Now that doesn't surprise me. He might spend £1 million on milk a month. That does surprise me. But the helicopter in, no, I buy that.
What's the difference between Barack Obama Air Force One and Donald Trump Air Force One?
Donald Trump Air Force One, he can't resist coming to talk to you at the back because he loves talking to you.
Really?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so, you know, you'll suddenly get a visit from the President of the United States.
And are the rules for that chat? Is that off-the-record chat? Are you allowed to ask him a question, or is that just...
It's on the record normally,
okay.
Because the most difficult thing he found during COVID was to be cut off from microphones and TV cameras because, you know, you suddenly... And so he used to do these briefings in the briefing room, which I'd go to. And instead of the briefing room being so, you know, it's that kind of... It's in every White House drama. And it always looks huge on TV. It's actually quite small. There's about 40, 50 seats in there. And there would only be 10 of us in the room. And Donald Trump would stay there for 2.5, 3 hours because he just wanted to be able to ventilate and have an outlet for his opinions. And, you know, and they got crazy. And eventually leading to him talking about how, you know, Bleach does this amazing number.
Bleach, that's it.
Yeah, and suddenly saying, you know, if we can only get that inside the human body, and it kind of, you can imagine every manufacturer of bleach in the United States saying, no, please do not.
Were you there for Bleach Day?
Yeah, I was in the room.
Oh, my Lord.
I was in the room.
He loves you, though, doesn't he? He's a big fan of your work.
He loves, honestly, very, very close. We are very tight.
There's a great video of Donald Trump. You've got it, haven't you, Jay?
Yeah.
Oh, it's worth playing, and then just because it's nice. It's just lovely.
It's nice.
Where are you from?
BBC.
Okay. Here's another beauty.
It's a good line. Impartial, free and fair.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. President.
Just like CNN, right?
On the travel ban...
it's just like a show, isn't it? It's
It is, yeah.
You know... Yeah.
So where are you from?
Yeah. From the BBC. Oh,
no,
that clown outfit.
Yeah.
What? Said no one ever until you just said it. Right. I know you're busy, so I'm going to fly through these. Okay, you ready? Question: due to how our democracy works, in theory, could Mr. Blobby become Prime Minister?
Yes. In theory. Well, if he's a UK citizen, over 18 years old, has to get elected for Parliament, so he's got to get win the constituency of Blobbiesville.
Right.
Becomes an elected party leader. If he becomes the leader of the party and the party have got enough MPs, Mr. Blobby can become Prime Minister.
Brilliant. Trump, Harris, who will win? These are quick fire ones.
That's a really easy one. I'm waiting for the difficult ones. I would go Harris by the merest squeak.
Okay. How does voting work in the US elections, and is it fair? Another quick one.
I can take until 11 o'clock on this answer. There is this weird thing called the Electoral College, where depending on the number of people who live in a state, you get a certain number of votes. And it's normally winner takes all. So in California, which is the biggest state, there are an awful lot of Electoral College votes, and the magic number is 270. Once you get to 270 Electoral College votes, because there are 538 divided between the 50 states, you become the president. Is it fair? It's fairish. Is there a perfect electoral system anywhere? Probably not.
Okay. Did you get Oasis tickets?
No.
Did you try?
Yes.
Are you disappointed that you didn't get any?
Yes, I didn't even get the backup. I didn't even
did you not get a code and stuff?
No.
I'm with you.
If you could, I'm wondering. Well, now that I'm here, I mean, is there?
Sure.
We haven't got any, John.
I have a Saturday morning show that I hate doing. So if you want to do that one week, I'll put you on the Radio X guest list for Cardiff that we're hoping actually happens. So
that's fair, isn't it?
For us. And finally, what are Spurs' chances this season?
Oh God! After the first 4 games, I mean, you always travel optimistically, but it's the hope that kills you. Actually, it's not going to kill me because I don't have a huge amount of hope after the first 2 games.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry, that was a Debbie Downer answer.
No,
wasn't
not
it?
really. You know, that's fine. I feel your pain. Do you know what it is? Since Spurs stopped nicking players from Leeds United, they've just gone downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
Although I don't think they want to nick any at the moment. John's book is out next week. You can pre-order it now, no doubt. You can go to a shop and ask them to order it. Jon Sopel's Strange Land, that is his book, with a picture of him wearing exactly the same outfit as he's wearing today.
I've only got one set of clothes.
He's naked from the waist down.
It's a great looking book, that.
It's one white shirt, one jacket, and the rest you just need to be. Strange Land is the name of the book. Lovely to see you. Come back any-time.
Oh, thank you. I've loved it.
You're now our favourite person on News Agents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the favourite.
It's you and then Emily. That's who we love. Right. Only joking, Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Sopel. Thank you very much, John.
Radio X.